Pereira versus Adesanya, guys. We're already there. We are already where we're trying to get, where we want to be, which is being entertained through the media, enjoying a fight that isn't even announced. I mean, if Dana was to come out tonight and announce this fight, man, that'd be stunning, considering they both just got done. But Adesanya's already said we got a date. I mean, did you guys see that? I don't know how literal we're supposed to take that, but Adesanya said we already hashed it out, we've got a date. I have no reason not to believe him, but I'm only sharing for you. Let's say Dana came out today and made that announcement. Guys, we got 3 months. Best case scenario, we got 3 months. You're telling me that we're going to have the kind of fun that we're having right now, we're going to have it for 3 months. Oh, by the way, how would you promote this if you were Alex Pereira? Interesting question. Pereira is not in on pay-per-view, like just by example. That goes to the champion. So the championship match, he's not, he would be later. I bring that to you because he's not incentivized to do anything different. Pereira had one job. Truly. He had one job and one clear goal to get to the fight. Become the number one contender, get the official nod, get that contract, and get a fight against Adesanya for the championship. This is what his goal was. He succeeded. So I bring that to you because Pereira is making this interesting. I don't know that he's trying. Adesanya comes at you pretty hard. At some point, Pereira has to respond. But guys, I mean, we're a number of hours into Adesanya making the statement that they've got a date. This thing's stealing all the headlines, and I can't quit thinking about this fight. Like, here, let me ask you a question. Would Pereira beat Whittaker? Whittaker came out, he said, I'm surprised how quickly Pereira got here. So I'm just asking you a different question. Could Pereira beat Whittaker? Now, you're going to have to think on that. You're going to have to really think about that because there are so many things that we don't know about Pereira. We did not learn very much about him in his fight with Sean Strickland. That was not a great fight. It was a great win and a great performance. It wasn't a great fight. There wasn't back and forth. There wasn't adversity. There wasn't somebody getting tired, somebody dealing with a swollen eye. We don't know if Pereira can stop a takedown. We don't know if he gets down, if he has any level of defense. Not from that fight. So what? Every other time that would matter. Every other time if we had a huge question mark on a guy and how skilled is he overall, that would matter going into a championship fight. He didn't need to be able to stop a takedown. He could be the worst wrestler. I'm not saying he is. He could be, literally, the worst wrestler to ever be in a championship fight, let alone to become the world champion. It wouldn't matter. He could be a white belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying he is. I don't know. I'm sharing for it. He could be, and it would not matter. It would have nothing to do with our assessment or breakdown. We have 2 kickboxers that are going to go out there and kickbox. Now, Adesanya is all fired up. I mean, Adesanya is demanding this. He is talking himself right into this, and I don't think that that's new. I think he has been preparing for this and focusing on this moment. How much confidence should Adesanya have? It appears he has a lot. How much should he have? If he doesn't plan to go take him down, what built-in advantages does Adesanya have that carry to MMA that did not exist in kickboxing? I'm going to need your help. I reached out to Henry Hoof publicly and asked him to smarten me up on this. I wanted him to go on his Instagram or maybe even just make me a video and send it over to me, but I really want his opinion. These are the kind of guys we're going to need. We're going to need Maurice Smith to come back. We're going to need Ray Sefo and Tyrone Spong to speak up. None of us get to be experts on what's going to happen in this fight. It has never been done. I don't know of a time in the sport, even going back to the early 1990s, when we were putting style against style. I don't know a time that we had 2 great kickboxers versus each other. Do you? 2 great pure kickboxers. I mean, that was almost the opposite of what they did in the 90s. You had a great kickboxer, you'd have put him in there with a judo guy. Or you put him in there with a taekwondo guy, this types of matchup. And we would have loved it. It would have been great to see. But we generally didn't bring 2 guys in with the same skill set. I remember when it was going to be Mark Coleman versus Dan Severn, but that wasn't great. It just was. People weren't overly excited because it was the same skill. That's not what we did back then. But I'm only trying to bring to your awareness when I tell you this has never been done. I have never seen anything like this. It doesn't matter how good Pereira looked against Strickland. It doesn't even matter how good Pereira is. It truly does not. because he's only going to need one skill. He's going to need to be a better kickboxer than Izzy. And I'm asking a very sincere question. And I really would like somebody like Coach Henry Hoof to answer this, specifically him. It's just, what advantages can we expect Adesanya to have that we don't see, guys? That we don't see. There's things in the sport of wrestling. If you put two wrestlers against each other, there's actually things in the sport of wrestling that are banned within that sport that are very helpful under the unified rules. Positions where you can lock your hands. What they call slamming an opponent. There's a number of things that if two guys had a wrestling match and we thought, okay, they're going to go wrestle largely in MMA. They don't have a whole bunch of other skills, but you really could break it down. The guy who lost the wrestling match is going to have these built-in advantages. I'm just asking, what are Adesanya's? I don't know the rules of kickboxing well enough. I do not believe you can elbow, and I do not know if you can knee. It looks like when you watch it, you can't elbow, but you can knee, but I don't know if that means you can knee the whole body. I don't know if you can knee to the head. I don't know. But are those advantages? Is that something that Pereira does really well and he was constrained under the kickboxing rules? And it's actually an advantage for Pereira. I will listen. But it's the opposite for Adesanya. Daniel Cormier made 1 point, but Daniel's in the same spot as me, which is we're fans. We don't actually know. I mean, we truly don't really know what this is going to look like. But Daniel did make 1 point, and I would like to use it because it's the obvious one, which is the 4-ounce gloves. Now, Daniel, when he made this point, gave that credit to Pereira. He said, hey, look, if Pereira can knock this guy out with the big gloves on, imagine what he could do with the 4-ounce gloves. Is that true? Is offensively, this is just more dangerous? We should expect this fight to end just like the other one did. It could go either way. One guy is going to fall down, but for sure, guys with this skill set are someone's going to land, someone's going to put the opponent down. Is that where we're at? I'm okay with it. But I'm wondering, because Adesanya has really got a good head of steam going right now. He's got himself in the right spot, and you have to do that. You must put yourself, the great ones can always do this. They will put themselves in a position where they believe they can succeed. So is Adesanya hanging his hat on the idea that I have more experience with MMA? 5-minute rounds greatly favors me as compared to what I had to deal with kickboxing. Look, I know that sounds simple, but I'll listen. I really will. Like, what should we believe is going to be different? What can we reasonably expect is going to be different or different advantages? And Adesanya hasn't started playing the head games, by the way. One of the head games that I would expect is for him to say, what you don't know, because I prefer to kickbox, what you don't know is I've been wrestling every day for 7 years. I can, am, and will take you down. Even if that's just gamesmanship, even if we're just having little food for thought within the media, we would listen, wouldn't we, guys? We would. Many times we have seen great strikers against each other, and one of two things happen. They either respect each other so much they stay the hell away. I want to say, was that Kimbo Slice? Kimbo Slice was taking on Houston Alexander, and they just stayed the hell away. You have Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. We as fans, well, somebody's going down, whoever lands first, and then the opposite, neither one landed, but neither one tried to land. They weren't looking at it from a perspective of the confidence in my power as of, whoa, he's got power. I need to stay away from him. 15 minutes later, it's just one of those things. We've also seen the two strikers go in there, and one of them pulls the double cross. They look, they assess their opponent, they say, hey, he's a little bit better here. I'm not going to say anything till the fight starts, and I'm going to come and try to tackle him. I have no reason to believe, even be armed with that evidence, that we're going to see either of those things. I don't know that either one has a fear of the other one's power. I would suspect they're aware of it. But a fear of it is something different. A fear of it is that's what keeps you on the outside. It's what never lets you into the bubble. You guys will remember Anderson Silva when he was fighting, but nobody could take him down. If you went and watched 5-6 Anderson's fights, you're going to come to the conclusion this guy's as good of a wrestler as anybody that's doing it, but you had to look a little closer. The guys weren't stepping in the right range. They were too scared to get within firing range. They were too scared they were going to get knocked out. Well, now if you're just 2 inches further back, you can't get the takedown. Wouldn't matter how good you are, how inexperienced that guy is. There's a certain range. What advantages does Adesanya have just because of the unified rules of MMA that restricted him against Pereira when they kickboxed? Question. I don't have that answer. I'm searching for it. I want Coach Hoof to get back to me. I want this to be a big back and forth. I want us to all learn something. But Adesanya is convinced that he can win. He does believe that there is something. He does believe that he has a better understanding of MMA than this guy. He does believe, regardless of what my tactics are and your tactics, within this confinement, in that octagon, I am going to beat you. He believes it. And as an athlete, you got to be very careful what you let in your bubble. Very careful. Adesanya may have himself convinced he never fought Pereira. He was never knocked out by Pereira. He may have himself convinced of that. The greats can do that, guys. That might sound weird to you. The greats can do that. They will block out what they let in. They had one rotten day, one rotten performance. 5 years later, they could pass a lie detector test to say it never happened. I don't know that's where Adesanya's at. I'm just sharing with you. He's coming in confident. He's trying to book a date. This is not a bluff. Guys bluff all the time until you get to this spot. Then all of a sudden you demand a rematch with Jared Cannonier. All of a sudden, the comments that Paulo Costa made must be answered for you. Avoid the fight. That is the opposite of what Adesanya did. Adesanya cut Joe Rogan off when Joe was trying to dance around it. Well, who should be next for you? There's a lot of good guys. Adesanya cut him off and said, quit pretending. It's Pereira. So what does Adesanya know? What does he believe? Adesanya gave a breakdown the other day, guys. It was a breakdown of Pereira versus Strickland. Adesanya said, man, that was all basic. Everything there was basic. Throws a straight, follows up with a hook. That's simple stuff. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's simple stuff if you're a genius. Truly. If you have one of these, a James Krause, a Dominic Cruz style IQ for the sport, maybe that was simple. Turns out Adesanya does. So when Adesanya gave that break, that was no, he just stepped in and stepped with a follow-up. No, it wasn't easy. Do you have any idea the geometry that is involved? Truly, the mathematics involved to get this to this while it's moving at this speed and I'm moving at this speed. I mean, right, this is that age-old question that none of us wanted to have to do freshman year in algebra class. A train leaves Philadelphia at 10 p.m. Right, it's one of these really hard things. It's brilliant. Pereira did a brilliant job. And this is the first title fight in history. It doesn't matter how good the guy is. It does not matter how well-rounded a guy is. It does not matter how long he's been wrestling. It does not matter if he can stop a triangle choke. It doesn't matter. These two guys are going to go kickbox for a unified combat championship. If you're a smart enough guy, if you've already talked to Coach Hoof, if you've already called Ray Cefa, tell me what they said. For today, I only want one thing answered. What advantages are naturally built in under the MMA rules that would have confined you when they were kickboxing under those rules?